What up? What up? So it's been a couple weeks, which is good. Means I'm working, which is the point, right? So got a couple messages this week, and I just wanted to share. That's really what this channel is for. I do spend a lot of time on my gaming channel. I really upload there a lot. That seems to be growing a lot more than this one. And plus, I want my messages here to have a point. I don't want to just be talking about nothing. So um, it's been coming across in my mind. Um, Man's optimization, like how we optimize, and not just that, but the way that we're given the opportunities to do that. And just to quickly get into it, and again, welcome to Proper Gentlemen's Club. James Taylor, your host. I say that on my Spotify podcast a lot, so I guess it's all right that I do it here. If you haven't checked out the Spotify podcast, give that a look. Links in below in the description. And so is a link to my gamer channel. I go live there sometimes, but I just post some other stuff there, some fun stuff, which is also part of the reason why I'm here doing this message. So, where to start? Let's talk about that 9 to 5 real quick. And so many of us are so quick to try to get out of the 9 to 5 that we don't understand the purpose. And the 9 to 5 is really just to provide a safety net. It also helps you to understand yourself a little bit more, the things that you like, the things that you're into. And I think one of the main things that I've learned in all my 9 to 5, so I've been in obviously food, been in the grocery store. I remember pushing carts when I was in high school. Did laundry when I played football for the football team, was my work study. I've worked at Marietta, ESPN, college radio. I was in pharmacy for 5 years as a lead pharmacy technician with CVS. I've worked at a gym as a personal trainer. I've worked as a nutrition advisor at Vitamin World. I have worked in finance at Nationwide Financial. I've worked in science with Thermo Fisher Scientific, and in my current career profession as a procurement specialist. So I buy things. It's a little bit more than that, but mostly I buy things to make sure companies are running properly. So that's my career. But that's the thing that, like, if I'm going to be working, that's what I enjoy doing. So I think the 9 to 5 is about finding something that you enjoy doing to be your safety net while you discover yourself. So the 9 to 5 isn't bad. The 9 to 5 really gives you a chance to find out who you are, what you like doing, and how you can provide a service to the world by doing that. And that's what the 9 to 5 is for. And we don't look at it like that. We're like, I hate my 9 to 5. Well, I don't hate it. I think most guys probably don't hate their work. We show up and we work. That's what guys do. So there's not a whole lot of complaining on our side. We know that there's certain things that we have to do that aren't going to always feel great. And so that's the point of the 9 to 5. So once you figure out what you like to do, like me, the video games that I've always played, I love collecting things. I love making things, selling things, keeping inventory of things. And that's what my job is. That's what my real life job is like, keeping inventory of things, making sure I have everything that I need, making sure that I have stock of everything. And so, look at your 9 to 5 as a safety net, a small safety net for you to, like, it gives me just enough money that I'm comfortable, but not too comfortable. Like, I could always use just a little bit more, although I'm fine. And so that keeps me on the razor edge of what we're talking about, which is trying to be optimized as a man. So man's optimization, and this is where I think Nikola Tesla's 369 kind of has helped me in the past probably 6 to 9 years, honestly, because it's helped me look at everything as just cycles. There's cycles to everything. So how many days to a habit? Let's say 21. And then the next time that habit is locked in is 90 days. So you got 3 and you got your 9, right? Your 6 months, which is the 2 months If you look at it, there's 30 days in a month, there's 60 days in 2 months, and there's 90 days in a quarter. There's 4 quarters in a year. 4 times 3 is 12. 2 plus 1 is 3. And you can do basic numerology to get these answers. But so there's 4 quarters in a year. I'm sorry, you can even do 3 4-month quarters, which would be thirds. But any way that you look at it, there's cycles throughout the year that you can use to really lock in. And your body goes through cycles, your mind goes through cycles, and when you look at things as just a cycle to the next phase, it can really help you begin to develop yourself and your plan for your future moving forward. I have really tried a lot of stuff so that I could continue to be not content and not necessarily happy. But the funny thing is that I don't know if he's a doctor or not, but Naval probably Naval Ravikant. He was on the Chris Wilkinson podcast, and I was watching, and he had something so fucking interesting to say. And he said this: it's not 10,000 hours, which I've held to the 10,000 hour theory, which is just a certain amount of time that you're doing something. It's not 10,000 hours. It's 10,000 iterations. And he calls that 10,000 error corrections, which I loved. When he said 10,000 error corrections, I loved it because this is where my gamer channel thing came up, because I game. But one of the main things that I do is I sim race. And sim racing has allowed me hours and hours and hours on the same track trying to optimize the perfect line, the perfect braking time, and do it all correctly. 10,000 iterations, 10,000 error corrections. If you do 10,000 error corrections, you're technically an expert at the thing that you're doing the error corrections on. So that's the crazy part about not 10,000 hours, but the thing that you're doing. Have you done 10,000 error corrections? So you think about a YouTube creator, right? 10,000 error corrections. When you're editing the video, when you're finding out what works, when you're finding out what doesn't work, when you're working with your audio, when you're working with the graphics, when you're doing all this stuff, 10,000 error corrections. Are you working towards 10,000 error corrections, or are you just doing the thing over and over? Are you just repeating yourself? Because the thing is about the body and the body and the mind wants to just repeat everything and put it on habit mode so you can coast. Coasting never gets you where you want to go. It's optimizing your path that does. It's finding out what works and what doesn't work. And for me, so people say, well, why are you single? There's so many reasons why I'm single. One of the reasons that I'm single is because I've been figuring out what works and what doesn't work. And there's a lot of things that don't work. But a lot of people get into relationships. Why? I forget what the guy's name is, but he said there was an old marriage adage that said, you marry your unfinished business. So you date your unfinished business. That's why people tend to date the same person over and over. They just don't know it. It's because they're dating their unfinished business. They haven't figured out what their unfinished business is, so they keep going into the same cycle over and over and over and over and over again. It's so crazy. It's so crazy that we do this, but it's not, because our body wants to be at ease, and ease is a habit. And so we get into the habits, and we don't understand why we're in those habits, and we don't understand why we're doing those things. Well, it's easy. First of all, your body wants to just figure out what's the easiest thing that I can do, and do that. And so you have this 10,000 error corrections where you should be going through life working on correcting all of your errors. This is what football players, basketball players do when they're watching tape. They're watching and they're making corrections and they're fixing stuff. And so that's part of it. Even me as a writer as well, ParperGentleman'sClub.com. That's my blog. I used to hate editing, and I understand that editing is a necessary evil because it's error corrections, seeing where I mess up. And I've always hated making error corrections in everything. My projects at school, all the stuff. I've hated going back and seeing where I made mistakes. So I used to just do everything raw. I'm going to bypass that I said that. But Naval Ravikant also says in this, in regards to relationships, he said, the moment you knew it wouldn't work out, you should have moved on. And I've always done that. I've always done that in all my relationships. I'm like, this isn't going to work. Like, I know, we know these things. We know the red flags. We know the green flags. We know when something's not going to work out. And most people are too hard-headed because of what they've been taught. And so they continue on in something that they know is not going to work. Because you know why? Because you don't know yourself. You've never taken the time to correctly optimize everything that you're doing. Everything is about error corrections. Everything is about error corrections. I'm going to say that one more time. Everything is about your personal error corrections. Are you taking the time to look back? And this takes self reflection. This takes being able to reflect on everything that you're doing. And you can't do this if you're self absorbed and you think you're right all the time. That takes a humility in being able to look and say, this is where I messed up and this is where I need to fix things. And most people actually don't do that. Obviously, we know this. So when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. You can only do that, obviously, in reflection. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And it sounds funny, but the guy said this. Albert Einstein, is this world one of hostility or one of friendliness? And that's the universe. That's a universal question. Is this universe one of hostility or one of friendliness? And so if you think that it's a world of hostility, you will create a hostile world around you. If you think the world is friendly, you will create a friendly world around you. Naval also said happiness and wealth are traits that we can create. And that comes from the 10,000 iterations or error corrections. And so I personally have been working on creating just a life that I can be content and happy with. And it doesn't look the way that, people like we think that it's all about the money, and it's not. It is all about you making error corrections so that you can continue moving forward, optimizing yourself and evolving as a person. When you're not doing that, you're actually staying in the same place. You're going to repeat the same things that got you to where you're at, and you're never going to move forward. And so when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so again, this is all about the error corrections, right? You marry or date your unfinished business. You only repeat what you know. You can only repeat what you know. And so if you're not self-reflecting to go back and see the errors that you make, you're never going to take the opportunity to find what you know and to do something different. The crazy thing about looking at life like this is there's a story that I just heard a guy tell, and I'm going to try to tell it right. He said, imagine this scene. You are getting ready to go to work or wherever, going out somewhere. You got your keys in your hand and your house is dark. You're in your house is dark. You've got your keys in your hand and you drop your keys on the ground. And you go to look for your keys and you realize you're not going to be able to find your keys in the dark. So you think, maybe I should turn the lights on so I can find my keys, right? You look outside and you see the street lights are on. And so you head outside to find your keys. So you go outside and you start looking around on the ground because the street lights are on and you figure you can find your keys in the street lights. Your neighbor comes over and says, hey, James, why are you looking for your keys? Or what are you looking for? I said, I'm looking for my keys. And he said, oh, I'll help you find your keys. So we're looking around. He's like, I don't understand. Why did you, and I said, well, the streetlights are on, so I figured I'd find my keys. And he said, well, where did you drop your keys? Well, I dropped them inside the house. Well, why would you be looking for your keys out here? Well, the streetlights were on out here, so I figured I could find my keys if I came out here. And it sounds stupid, but the way that he said this is, when we're searching for a solution to a problem, why do we always search for the solution outside of ourselves? That's what we do. We search for the solution outside of ourselves all the time. And the crazy thing about social media is that it gives us so many solutions to the problems that we think we face. Made up problems in our mind. Don't believe everything that you think, right? And so we look for solutions outside and we apply solutions that aren't relative to us because the solutions are internal. If you're making 10,000 iterations, error corrections in how you're behaving in your habits. And so that being said, change the way you look at things and the things you look at will change. Use your 9 to 5 as your safety net. to understand yourself and to make your way through the world. And once you begin to understand yourself a little bit more, begin to work on your 10,000 error corrections in whatever it is that you're doing, whatever the chosen way that you've chosen to live through your life. Work on your 10,000 error corrections. Understand that you will always get into or date, have a job with your unfinished business. If you're into quitting jobs, right? You will always go through jobs until you find a job that you're not going to quit, that you're just going to be at. I've done that. The moment you knew it wouldn't work out, you should have moved on. That is a way to correct errors, to understand yourself. And so, good luck optimizing. And I hope to be back soon. Again, follow my other pages, give a like and a subscribe, hit me in the comments, have a whole chat about it. I'll see you guys later.